Yeah, hey guys. This is kind of like a post edit. This is post edit Marsh right here. I didn't realize while I was recording it how long the video actually was going to be. I thought I went through it pretty quick, and then I looked back and it was like 50 minutes long. So this is going to be a part one and a part two because it was 50 minutes with me having cut out stuff that I thought was unnecessary already. Because I feel like quite a bit of the information is pretty good. Part one is going to be about what stuff you can do to prep for a new class or character before it's released, and then part two for this one specific, and for this specifically, will be purely designed for we'll cover stuff to do after the class releases, like day one kind of stuff, and then I'll show off the materials I have saved so far to this day on May 12th for the new class, the Destroyer. So if you're watching this intro, it's part one, and I hope you enjoy the video. And if anything in part one helps you, then part two is probably going to be pretty helpful also. So definitely look forward to that. It should be there should be an end card or something for it. So thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy the video. All right. Hey. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on when you're watching this. We've reached confirmation on that for sure the May update is planned for May 19th, which means starting from today on Thursday, May 12th, we have exactly 1 week for Destroyer and Vault-In. Vault-In, like, I'm not really gonna do a prep list or anything about Vault-In because I feel like there's a bunch of videos about that. The only thing I'm sharing is my personal prep list that I made. Originally I made this for the Glaver. I made a super rough coffee on the Glaver that I talked about on stream before Glaver came out. And then I've kind of like added to it over time, and I'll add like extra things as we talk, as I've remembered. But this is just a quick prep list. I kind of talked about it on stream earlier today, but then I had like some technical difficulties, and I'm not going to really get into it. So I'm kind of just making a video just to put out there so that for people, if you want to like a prep list or some sort of checklist that you want to like follow for new classes for when they come out, this prep list isn't very class specific because unlike a lot of other MMOs, Lost Ark is a lot of it's like roster stuff that you can do and build together. So it's a pretty concise checklist. It's a little long. You're gonna notice I have Lost Ark open in the background, and I'm kind of gonna swap back and forth between my list and Lost Ark because there's some things to show, so that way you know where to get them and all that kind of jazz, and then we can just like interact with it like that. So first off, I have it divided between like easy, kind of medium ones, and then like stuff that could be hard depending on like where you're at. Really, you could probably call it like casual, average, and then super, like casual, sweaty, super sweaty, as the things are also an option for names. But starting it off right off the bat, which is probably the easiest and most common that most people probably do, is make your class ahead of time. So for instance, this one, the next new class is going to be Destroyer, and Destroyer is a warrior. So to just do this tip, the biggest thing to do is just have a warrior class made ahead of time. You know, customize them how you want, take your time. You know, you can do it now calmly without rushing, and then you can reserve your name and all that jazz for your Destroyer, so that you don't have to do that and rush it on day one and try to compete with anybody else who kind of like came in late to the party or waited till that last day to do it. Another benefit from creating your Destroyer now, like a week or so ahead of time, is you're accruing rest for Chaos Dungeons and Guardian Raids, which can really help speed up your gearing process and getting into tiers as you're doing it. We'll talk a bit more specifically on that later on, but like you just basically what you want to do is you just make your character, make him look the way you want, reserve the name you want, and then you do nothing else with him. You just leave him in the character select. I don't remember if it drops you off at Trixion or if you have to log in, but basically if it puts you in Trixion, just immediately log out, or like, you know, you can just go to character select and not worry about it. Don't choose an advanced class or anything. Some people have like pre-power pass to their warriors since you can do that. I don't really think it really makes much of a difference, and if you plan on doing a Solus run anyway, like I am, because you're insane like I am, then you don't want to power pass ahead of time, because then you can't go back and do that Solus run. The next one we're going to talk about is make sure you have enough currency for stuff. So when I made this for Glaver at the time, you know, the Guardian Raid event was still going to go past Glaver, but currently the event portion of the currency is kind of a moot point because the only event we have rolling right now that has currency is the Guardian Raid event, and that ends on the 19th. And we don't know yet what will replace that. If anything will replace it. I imagine something should replace it. I don't know if it'll be an event with currency. I don't know if it'll just be a login event. Korea has lots of like different kinds of events where it's not always just you go to a vendor. A lot of times it's just a web page that opens up in your game and it'll track like your logins and what kind of stuff you do, and then you get rewards for it. So we don't know what the next event's gonna lie, whether it's gonna require to farm currency or not. Don't know. So that's kind of a moot point at the moment. But for instance, the other ones with pirate coins, PvP coins, and guild bloodstones, you really want to probably stockpile at least the pirate coins and the PvP coins ahead of time. Guild bloodstones are better off being spent because guild bloodstones are per character and not roster bound. So your destroyer cannot make use of the bloodstones from, say, your like striker or any other of your ults, because bloodstones are character based, not roster based. But what you can do is you can buy well, actually we'll get to that later because that's in the second point, but basically make sure you have enough pirate and PvP coins, so that way when the new class drops, it doesn't necessarily have to be destroyer, because again, this is not very specific, this is general, so you can do it for any new class that's coming out at any point. Really is just have enough pirate and PvP coins so that you can go and buy what they need, so you don't get hard stuck at the beginning of things. This will kind of tie into the next one, which I was reaching into with the guild stuff, is buy unbound mats from the bloodstone and pirate coin vendors. The pirate coin vendor is kind of like this, there's a little asterisk there, because the pirate coin vendors, it's pretty safe to stock up on the tier 3 stones because those are unbound stones, but I would kind of probably not buy the tier 1 tier 2 stuff unless you absolutely need to, because they go to waste. You don't really use them. While the tier 3 stones, you'll be using the ones we're using for a while, so it's pretty safe investment to buy those, even if you don't end up not needing it to push to whatever goal you're trying to get to on the new class when it comes out. Bloodstones, for sure, buy everything you need from it that you can afford while still being able to buy stuff for that character. So for instance, all of my tier 3 characters buy tier 3 materials. They buy their tier 3 stones from the guild shop, and I stuff those in the roster storage, and then a couple of them will buy some extra tier 2 materials to help further supplement that, and then I'll have like 1 or 2 extra characters buy tier 1 materials because I don't have any tier 1 characters. So you can do that with bloodstones, and since it's a weekly reset, I do it every week. I've been doing it for the past like 2 or 3 weeks, and it's given me a pretty decent little stockpile to kind of push with, especially for tier 1 stuff, because I basically had nothing in tier 1 because it's been so long since I last had a tier 1 character, and so I kind of really bought a lot of stuff on from the bloodstone vendor to build up what stock I have. And I'll show you at the end of the video like everything I have kind of saved up. There's going to be a mix of like just regular stuff I farmed plus chests and all that kind of jazz that I kind of put together. So, but really for your bloodstones, they're a really good source of unbound stones to save up for new classes, and which ones you need to buy and how much you need to buy is kind of going to just depend on what sort of resources you have available. If you have a Fate and Power Pass available, then you don't need to buy tier 1 stones. You can just buy tier 2 stones. Or if in the future, when a new class releases, if it comes with a Punica Power Pass, then you don't need to buy tier 1 or tier 2 stuff. Just buy tier 3 stuff, because that's all you're going to need. So it's really just, this is kind of just going to be on a per person basis and what sort of resources you have available and sort of what things you want to go and how fast you want to be. The next point is, this one's like also, this is an easy one, but it's kind of also an asterisk because it's going to kind of depend on a per person basis again, is you can buy small tier 1, tier 2 shard pouches from Mari's. Now I put tier 1 in there because there's some people that just don't want to do tower. And I don't know what the prices of the tier 1 shard pouches are. I didn't look really, but they were pretty expensive last time I checked, and I don't think they've gone down in price all that much. Same thing for the tier 2 shard pouches. Now, this is going to depend on what region and like how much gold you have to buy blue crystals with, because, or if you have a stockpile of blue crystals already, because blue crystal prices have kind of skyrocketed. Well, not skyrocketed, but they've increased quite a bit in the past like 2.5 to 3 weeks by itself, especially in the last like 2 weeks. About 2 weeks ago, like I checked my blue crystal purchasing history. Like about 2 to 3 weeks ago, I had spent like 400 to 500 per gold per 95 blue crystals. So right now, when I checked earlier today, it was like 696. Yesterday they were like 715 or something. Like they went up in price quite a bit. I don't know if they'll stay at that price. I do know probably a lot of people started buying up stuff to kind of like push for Vulcan now that when it was officially announced for May 19th as a kind of like a goal that they wanted to get to. So that probably had some push in that. I know that brought up the prices of some other stuff, like some tier 3 mats I think went up in price a little bit. I think the tier 2 mats went up in price a little bit, like a gold or so. Tier 1 prices are at 1 gold last I looked, so for stones. So it's kind of like that, but this is kind of just on a per person basis. I personally, if you're going to use the express mission, you probably don't need tier 1 shard pouches because the tier 1 tower is pretty easy. So, but for tier 2 you might want to do it because the tier 2 tower kind of sucks. I personally don't like it. The next one that's pretty easy to, could be pretty easy to do. This one's also kind of dependent on like the person and how your guild runs things, if you're in a guild and stuff like that, is having a guild ready to join. Having a guild ready to join means that you will come out of the new guild member phase that much sooner, which is a really big bonus as a player, because when you're in the new member status, which cannot be manually overridden at all whatsoever by the guild leader or anything. Trust me, I've tried. I am the guild leader in my guild. I tried all the time. For whatever reason, it's an automated system. You have to go through it. When you're a new guild member, the only way you can personally get bloodstones is from the daily donations. If I'm not mistaken, I know you don't get the guild login bloodstones, and I know you cannot do the weekly stuff. And I'm pretty sure you can't aid the research, so you can't get bloodstones from that either. So the only way to do it is get from donating, which isn't very much. And then on top of that, the longer you wait, the higher of a chance you run of not being able to get 100 contribution on that weekly to get the weekly bloodstone event, right? So like, in case you don't know, if you're not in a guild or you just don't pay attention because you usually get it the most anyway, when you log into the guild menu here at the bottom, you have my contribution with where you have up to 100. Like currently I'm at 15 out of 100 because that's how much I got for opening and logging in, and then donating it got me to 15 out of 100. And you get more contribution from, you know, aiding research, from completing weeklies. And it's just like, if the longer you wait, you run the risk of not getting to 100, and if you don't get to 100, you get nothing. So you basically double delay your character from getting bloodstones the longer you wait. So I really do suggest having a guild ready to join, whether you and your friends run your own guild and you just have one of them like, hey, I need you to log on ASAP when the new character drops, so you can just invite them to the guild. Or if you know you've joined a bigger, more like robust guild where it has a better system, a big system involved, they might have some sort of like sign up or something that you need to do for alt guilds, for their alt guilds and stuff. Because a lot of guilds in Lost Ark, especially the higher tier ones, they have alt guilds because of how limited the capacity is in the regular guild. So if you might want to look into what it takes, what you have to do to get your character set up for that kind of stuff. But generally, you really want to get in as soon as possible, so that way you can get past those 3 days and be getting all the rewards that you can get. The next important one, probably more important than any of the previous ones we talked about, really, aside from making your class ahead of time, is unlock the training camp in the stronghold. So I haven't seen a lot of people talk about it. I think maybe because most people know, but I do know a lot of people have ignored their strongholds. The training camp is over here. It's in this little section of the stronghold. If you don't see this icon, it means you have a quest that you need to do. And I think, if I'm thinking, it has one of these like blue house exclamation points on it, and I think, if I'm mistaken, it's supposed to be around this area, and it's like Monster Slayer or something or another. And basically you need to talk to him, he gives you a quest that leads you to another quest, and then eventually you then get, I think you'll have to, once you finish those 2 quests, you can come talk to Adeline, and she should have a quest to give you the training camp. What the training camp does is it allows you to passively accrue XP for a character as long as they are 2 levels underneath your highest level character and above level 50. You can access it either going physically or from the management menu. You can just come here to training camp and you'll have 1 slot. As far as I know, Korea still hasn't unlocked their 2nd slot either, so I don't know when we're going to get this. But as you can see, all of my characters are level 55, which is 1 level beneath my main character currently, which is my scrapper, who is level 56. So none of them can accrue XP in this system. But basically what you'll do is, so like for example, Destroyer will drop, right? As soon as you get him to level 50, the very first thing you want to do is log in, like get into your stronghold and put him in the training camp, so that way he's just already accruing rest. Because what this does is this pulls XP, well, not accruing rest, but this pulls XP into this system that when you claim it, then adds it to your character. I can't really show you how it's done because, again, I don't have any characters to do. Like, the only character who could have done it is the one warrior I have sitting waiting for Destroyer. But it's a really good system. It really helps to speed things up. The big thing to remember is if you have the crystalline aura, you want to double, triple, quadruple make sure that you're choosing the special training, because the general training is free and everybody gets it. But as long as you have crystalline aura bonus, you get the special training, which is almost twice as much XP per minute, which is really good, especially considering that you can only have a character training for 7 days in one go before you have to claim the XP and then restart them again. But this is really good. I think most people kind of already know about it, but just in case you didn't, it's a really good system to have, so that way you can passively just accrue XP. And another cool feature is that down here you'll see your character, like the character you chose, actually like fighting the dummy, practicing. So it's a nifty little thing. You won't see it most times, but I like it. It's a nice little touch. The next thing that ties into is kind of again in the XP thing. If you're high enough stronghold level, because I still don't know 100% what like causes you to unlock this. This is something I didn't see anybody talk about. I didn't know about it until it popped up in my research tab in my lab. But in the lab, you can probably check an unavailable research. For me, it popped up after like level 35, level 36 stronghold level. Basically what it does is you have 3 researches you can do per level. So for instance, here we see battle XP +1. It covers the level 50 section, and each individual one gives me plus 50% XP for battle XP, and it stacks on top of itself. So that means at level 50, my Destroyer, when he comes out, will be getting 150% more experience from everything he does that is combat related. So it really speeds up. Like as soon as I started researching this stuff and getting it going, I had a Glaver who was like level 53, and I could visibly tell that she was definitely leveling a lot faster than before having it. The requirements though are locked behind gaining certain levels. I know for sure. I don't know what the very first one is, because I'm thinking you have to unlock this one before you can research the rest. And I didn't look at what the requirement was for this to unlock. I think it's getting the stronghold level 35. I'm not 100% sure. There's probably someone who can check that, but basically you want to get these as soon as you unlock them because they really help your alts. Currently I have it unlocked all the way up to where I have 100% extra XP at 53 and then 50% extra XP at 54, because that's all I can get right now. If you're curious about like what it takes for the future stuff, so for instance, in order to unlock the next like 2 researches for it, which would then give me the last 50% for 53 and then another 50% for 54, is I need to get a character to level 57, and then from there on, you know, it kind of just keeps going up and up until you get to 60, and then I think I think 60 is like where it caps. Yeah, so at 60 you should then have probably you'll have like 150% XP for everything from 56 to below. You'll get 100% XP for level 57, and then you'll get 50% XP bonus for level 58. This is something I haven't seen a lot of people talk about, and it's really good. It's a little expensive, but to be fair, like as long as you have alts, because it costs gold, you should be able to recoup those costs like no problems, and it'll help you in the long run, especially with like new classes when they come out. That's a big one I haven't seen a lot of people talk about, so I think like you should just check your research levels, and they're really quick. I think at most they take like about an hour or so to research. It'll probably differ depending on how much like research time reduction you have in your stronghold and stuff like that. But just double check, make sure see if you have any available, because they'll really help you with alts and the new classes. Kind of just attack on is just make sure you bought all the goodies from the Guardian Raid event vendor. You know, the books expire, but the bound mats don't expire, so buy those on any characters that need them, either tier 2 or tier 3. It has silver, make sure to buy that. It has card packs, make sure to buy that. And then engraving pouches, all of that is stuff that you can buy. Really easy, no problem. One thing I just remembered now that's really easy to do is pre-make your fusion materials for tier 1 and for tier 2 and tier 3, especially for tier 2. because for whatever reason the tier 2 materials take an hour to complete, so you really kind of want to make a batch of those. Probably not too many right off the bat, but you probably want to make a decent amount of those depending on like how far in like from tier 2 you have to work with. If you're working from a fade and power pass, you're still probably going to need like probably 1 or 200. And then if you're working with like the express mission, you probably need more or less about the same because of the success rate. But you're gonna have to work from farther if you don't have the fate and power pass. So, but this really is a real big time saver for you don't have to sit there and do other stuff. If you really want to just sit down and push, like I plan on making fusion materials, and then I'll also add pre-farm mats for your fusion materials, because that's the other thing, right? You don't want to like, so say you don't care about pre-making it, you don't really mind, but then you go and when you want to make a big batch of them, you then realize you don't have enough fish, you don't have enough meat, you don't have enough excavating materials. That's all really stuff you can do now, like slowly throughout this week, kind of spread it out and do it. If you get a guild weekly, like for instance, my guild weekly, I picked fishing because I'm going to be doing a lot of fishing in preparation for all these fusion materials I need to make, stuff like that. It's really easy. This is another easy thing you can do, especially with this week's worth of heads up that we have officially, that you can get it done. And that's just, you just go and you fish, and if you're not doing the guild wiki, you just go fish for like 4 or 5 minutes a day here and there, in tier 2 and tier 3 to get enough fusion materials, and then just craft it, and then you'll be good to go. Stuff that's a little bit, I guess, sweaty territory, as I like to call it, is you can plan what tier 3 characters will farm tier 1, tier 2 content. The asterisk here is for don't do chaos dungeons. Using a tier 3 character's run for like Aura of Residence for tier 1, tier 2 chaos dungeons is a huge waste and just isn't worth doing. Not even from and I'm not even talking from the fact of that you're missing out a lot of tier 3 mats, which are pretty limited as they are currently. It's the tripod armors. Every run that you don't do on a character for chaos dungeon in tier 3 that you do on a different tiers chaos dungeon is 1 more run's worth of tripod armors that you're missing out on. And tripods levels are a really big amount of DPS, and just ability effectiveness is really attached to those. So at most, what I suggest doing is using your tier 3 characters for the guardian raids if you need extra leap stones, if you didn't save up a lot, or for the infinite chaos if you end up doing infinite chaos for that week to try to get some leap stones and stuff that way. The way I would suggest doing it is, if you really need to run infinite chaos and you find that you don't have enough shard pouches and you don't have enough leap stones and you don't really want to buy from Mari Shop or the auction house like right off the bat, do your tier 3 chaos dungeon runs on your tier 3 characters, and then do infinite chaos on the one that you think is like the most brain dead and easiest one to do, and farm up some currency that way, and then just slowly buy what you need on that character. Because remember, the more tier 1, tier 2 stuff you have left over, the more it goes to waste because you can't do anything with it. At least tier 3, if you buy too many tier 3 leap stones, you can then turn that into a great honor leap stone at the vendor. And then the shards and the guardian stones and destruction stones in tier 3 are going to be used for a long time. And that's just kind of how it is. So this is kind of more sweaty. It's not that hard to do, but it's kind of completely optional, and it's really someone you're just trying to like really min-max if you're kind of late on you kind of drop the ball a bit on your farming. If possible, this was, again, I wrote this back when it was Glaver, so at the time a lot of people we're still kind of in the 1370 mark, maybe a little bit off 1370, and they weren't really too far into it. But it should be more possible now, especially if you've been playing from the beginning, is if possible get a character to 1385 for the honing research buff, because that's the other thing. Like I forgot to point it out, but when we were talking about it, for the roster help, one of the big ones, and I feel like a lot of people talked about it, so I think most people know, is I talked about the battle XP, but there's also the honing rate buffs, right? 1385 is the one that is what you need to get the tier 3 honing rate buffs, which if I'm mistaken is effective for up to 1370 is the effectiveness for. So basically it's to get you into your legendary gear quicker. We don't know if we're going to get the second one, because there is a second tier 3 honing rate buff that the other regions have that I don't think we've gotten an official answer back yet whether or not we're getting that with Vulcan. If we do, I think that's somewhere in the 1400s. I think that's like 1445 or something like that. It's pretty high up there from 1385 if I remember correctly. So it'll still be a while for most players to get to it, but just remember to keep an eye out if we do get it, that if you work towards it to unlock it. Another kind of like, I guess, sweaty-ish one, depending on like how you are as a person and how much stuff, how much daily stuff you like to grind, is Anguished Isle farm. So Anguished Isle, because it's something I haven't seen people talk about recently, and I think like newer players probably miss out, is a little island off to the southeast, right? Yeah, southeast of Punica. It's right here. It's next to the Tempest ghost ship. Anguished Isle has a daily quest that you will unlock. When you unlock the daily quest, basically you'll get a little bit of currency every day. So basically what you do is you go to the daily quest, it'll tell you to go collect these certain stuff from the mobs in the area, so you'll just kill the clowns in there until you get enough. It's really quick, especially if you go from the quest giver, go up the left path until you find a little spot that has like 4 or 5 packs that are spawning next to each other, and you can kind of just rotate between the 3 of them, and you'll have a couple pickup spots, and you'll be done with the farm for that daily quest like in no time, as long as you know you don't have 2 or 3 people there doing it with you. But what you can do with this is every single character you have in tier 3, because I don't know if you can actually get to the island before tier 3, but every character, at least I can guarantee for tier 3 because I've done it myself, every character that you have in tier 3 can go to Anguished Isle and buy 50 tier 2 leap stones and 50 tier 3 leap stones chests that are unbound, and you can put them in your roster storage, and you can either funnel them to a character or you can save them for new classes coming out. It's 50 per, they can only buy it one time, but each character can buy 50. So it's really good if you kind of just, you know, again, you don't want to do Infinite Chaos. It's a really nice extra feature you can do. The way with the daily quest, you'll have the daily quest that'll give you some of the currency itself, and then it'll give you a key that you can then do to run the dungeon on the island. The dungeon on the island also nets a decent amount of the currency that you use, but to be honest, as soon as you get the Island Soul and the Omnium Star from that dungeon, I kind of just say just don't worry about the dungeon, because it's pretty bad. Like, you get pretty tired of it. Like, it's not a bad dungeon, but you get pretty tired of running it pretty quickly, in my opinion. At least I did. So as soon as I got those 2 items, I was like, I'm done with this. I just stuck to doing the daily quest. And the daily quest honestly generates you enough. Should generate you enough to at least buy a couple of those 50 boxes, if that's all you buy on the extra characters. Especially with this week of doing it. The nice thing about the dungeon, though, is that if you don't want to do the dungeon at all, maybe you just want to do the daily quest, the dungeon doesn't have a daily lockout. In order to do the dungeon, all you need is a key, which you only get from the daily quest, but you can save those. And then if you ever go, you know what, I need a batch of coins or currency or the skynes, whatever it's called, you can then just run a handful of them at a time here and there, to kind of just get a boost when you need it. So it's kind of nice. And if I'm mistaken, the keys are also roster bound, so you can put them on other characters, so that way to mix things up. Some that are a bit harder / more sweaty is get runes / skill potions that you are missing or need for the new class. Again, depending on when you're watching this video, I'll probably make new ones that'll change depending on like what extra features we have and stuff like that. But if you're watching it further down, you'll probably have most of this. But at the point that I'm talking about in May, I still, like, a lot of people I know personally don't have a lot of their skill potions. A lot of people I know personally still are missing runes, so they're like, man, I really need these runes, that kind of stuff. And I've kind of just been trying to help them to kind of figure it out. But something you can do that it's a little tight to do in 1 week is get your runes and your skill potions. Skill potions are probably the more important one out of the 2, for the most part, depending on what you're playing. For Destroyer, like, the runes will help, but a lot of the runes that he uses, you'll probably already passively have some, like the Gale Winds and stuff like that. The only one that you probably have to go out of your way to get is a Focus rune, but even then, if you've gotten enough, not Omnium Stars, shit, what's the other one? I'm drawing a blank, because there's a legendary Focus rune you can get right now. Well, there's 2 you can, there's one you can get now, and there's another one you'll be able to get when the Vaultin comes out, because they'll add a legendary Focus rune to the Chaos Line dungeon vendor. I forget what it is, but basically that's the only rune you probably have to go out of your way to get. For the most part, I feel like most people would have the other runes, which you could run like protection, but you don't really need it on a Destroyer and stuff like that. But the runes probably aren't that bad to get out of the way. The skill potions, though, they can be pretty rough. There's a lot of skill potions tied behind reputation. There's some skill potions tied, like a lot of the skill potions are tied to adventure tomes. A lot of them are tied to second, like the other stories in the adventure tomes, that usually some of those are attached to the back of of reputations, of daily quests that you need to do X number of times to get it, that kind of jazz. So skill potions could be a bit. I myself personally am only missing 1+3 potion, which is from the level 50 lore in the tier 2 tower, and then 3 of the +6 potions, which is the Omnium Star one, the Ignia token one, and then the one from the Punica Adventure Tome. So I'm not too much in a rush to get skill potions because I really don't like doing the tier 2 tower, and the Ignia tokens and the Omnium Stars are kind of just, they'll come to me when they come to me, and then the Punica Adventure Tome, I don't feel like doing it anytime soon, so I'm not really going to worry about it, and I should have enough skill points to at least make a functional build at level 55 if I need to. Another one is to finish card sets. So earlier today, I streamed myself opening a bunch of card packs. We got pretty lucky. I'll probably put maybe a link in the description to my to the VOD for today, whenever that comes out, for how I did for opening the card sets. We got pretty lucky. We didn't get the cards we were aiming for, but we made it so that after I do the Soulless run on the Destroyer, I won't have to do another Soulless run again, and I'm just waiting to get a Carmine and Delay and Armament cards. I'll be done with my Lost Wind Cliff set, and we got 2 more cards for the Holy Damage Salvation set for DPS. So this one, again, this one's a little sweatier because if you're not very close to finishing it, you're gonna have to buy like probably Blue Crystal Mari Shop packs, and then like go for the adventure islands. Like just ignore the pirate coin ones and go for the ones that offer card packs to try to get more legendaries and more uncommons to try to get your Soulless done. Do not touch your legendary selector cards. I cannot say this enough. I know a lot of people said it at the beginning. I feel like some people may forget. Don't touch your legendary selector cards. You really want to save those because there's the Salvation set at 30 Awakening, which is going to take a long time to get, gives you so much more damage than the crit set ever will. So just hold on to it, because for every legendary selector card pack you own, that's 1 less legendary card you need to get to 30 Awakening, and it's a long haul. If you plan on playing this game for a long time, just don't use it now. Just keep holding on to them. Another one that's pretty sweaty is you can farm Infinite Chaos now if you wanted to buy out the Chaos Shop like ASAP day 1. I kind of did the favor of breaking down the pouches, leap stones, and then the regular stones, like dividing them up, because I feel like if you were going to buy leap stones, you're probably going to buy pouches anyway, because these are going to be the 2 main stopgaps you have for trying to get a character to tier 3. So the prices is, you need, for tier 1, you need 2100 of the tier 1 currency and 2250 for respectively for the leap stones and shards, and then for the stones. The leap stones and pouches, if I'm mistaken, is like, one's like 1200 and one's like 900. If I'm mistaken, that's how you get 2100 here. I don't remember which is which. And then the stones, as you'll see, they're the same price for both tier 1 and tier 2 for the amount that you need, but that's because it's kind of like divided in half. If I'm mistaken, it's like 1125 each, if I did the math right. I probably should have double checked the math, but I think this is pretty right. And then for tier 2, the difference is you'll need another 600. You'll need 2700 tier 2 leap stone, or tier 2 currency, if you want to buy out the shards and the leap stones for tier 2 stuff. Again, I don't really suggest going too ham on it unless you absolutely don't have anything like built up, because whatever you buy from tier 1 and tier 2 on that character, whatever's left over is basically useless. So kind of just buy it as you need it. Use your other characters to do infinite chaos to save their chaos dungeon entries for that day, and don't worry about it. Or if you're not someone who you can't, or you don't want to, or you don't care about saving those infinite chaos rested bonuses for that day for that character, you can just run their chaos dungeon themselves and then just have them infinite chaos themselves. It's not that bad. And then the last one for this one, which is pretty much impossible to do now unless you're like in Supreme 2 or 3, or you're just super sweaty at Supreme 1, is you can try to do enough PvP in the week to get in a percentile bracket that'll give you enough XP to get to Supreme 4. If you're not Supreme 1, I don't think it's doable at all. If you're Supreme 1, you need a PvP so much in the week because you need to get in the top like 0.5% of people PvPing on your server to get enough XP to go from Supreme 1 to Supreme 4. This will differ from server to server because from my understanding, PvP level is attached to the server, not like the region. So if you're on a server where not a lot of people PvP, you probably have an easier time doing this. While if you're on a server where there's a lot of people PvPing, you're gonna have to PvP a shit ton to get it. So the Supreme 4, the real big thing here is that it lets you buy more materials. So everybody starts off with that first material they get, and then after that, it's Supreme 4 is the very next checkpoint for the next material unlocks. Even if you don't get to Supreme 4, I suggest PvPing as much as you can anyway, or at least as much as you're willing to stomach, because specifically, oh hey, I'm rank 44 at the moment. I'll drop down soon anyway. Specifically, depending on what tier you're in, what PvP tier, what PvP level, whatever you want to call it, you get a weekly, basically, stipend of coins of courage. So as you can see, this week I got 2.2380 for coins of courage because I reached Supreme 1 this reset. My goal is to hopefully get Supreme 2 or Supreme 3. I think Supreme 3 is perfectly doable because I went from like 35,000 to like 73,000 in this last week, and so I think it's perfectly doable for me to get to at least Supreme 3, so that'll be another 4,000. So regardless of what like actual tier or level you're at, I really do suggest just doing some PvP, maybe doing 4 or 5 matches a day here and there. Like if you don't like PvP, don't force yourself too much, and you don't have to do this in ranked. You can do this in unranked and you'll get points. You'll get slightly less points, but you still get points. And then you know, and it might help you not get so tilted or jaded, or if you want to play with friends and do it, 100% do it. Just try to do some so you can get some more, you know, tier up a bit to get the weekly reward, and then also build up a stockpile of coins yourself, of coins of courage. That's kind of just my advice on that. But again, if you don't like PvP too much, don't push yourself farther than you need to, because that's how you'll burn out. So yeah, so kind of like I stated in the intro, this is part 1 to the video. I'm kind of just reiterating. If anything in part 1 helped you out, be sure to let me know down in the comments. If I missed anything that you think that is noteworthy in the prep list for stuff to do before a class comes out, like not necessarily just the week leading up, but just, you know, from when we know the general time frame for when a class is coming to before it comes out, also let me know in the comments. I'd really like to hear your feedback and how you guys think the prep list could help you for future classes, because this prep list, like I've said a couple times, is pretty general, so you can kind of apply it to most future classes, especially in this part 1 video. So just let me know how you thought about it, and if there's anything that you think I should add for next time, because I'll probably do these videos for when new classes come out, if anything noteworthy is propped up or I feel that I missed. Also, just to kind of like throw out there, I did start a Twitter somewhat recently. I'm kind of figuring out how that works out, but if you want to stay up to date with stuff and just overall just see what kind of like memes and shit, what kind of people I follow, just go over to Twitter. There'll be a link in the description, and there'll also be a link on my YouTube, so feel free to come and drop a follow, and so I can keep you up to date and all that kind of jazz. So thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again in part 2.